Hey, what's up, New City Online? This is Pete. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for giving us access to the space that you're occupying right now. Thanks for being part of ours. I want to bless you in Jesus' name before we even get going. This is such a blessing to be part of. So this week we're continuing in our series, Living Life Backwards, and it's basically a journey through the book of Ecclesiastes. And the reason we're doing that is oftentimes what it is, the things that we prioritize in our lives, the things like our walk as believers, our walks as employees or parents or spouses or children. What we do is we have a tendency to prioritize the wrong things, you know? And so what Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes, does a really good job of unpacking what is it about life that truly matters, and what's temporary, what's chasing the wind is how it's said frequently in Ecclesiastes. And ultimately what it boils down to is like, take or leave everything that we're a part of. It's all transitory in nature, so it's all going away. So what is it that gives meaning to our life? It is the presence of a living and loving King, a living and loving God. So before we continue, let's read today's passage, where we'll be in chapter 5, verses 1 and 2 of Ecclesiastes. It says this: "Guard your step when you go to the house of God. Better to draw near in obedience than to offer the sacrifice as fools do, for they are ignorant and do wrong. Do not be hasty to speak, and do not be impulsive to make a speech before God. God is in heaven, and you are on earth, so let your words be few." So when I read this passage, when I hear this passage, like, it reminds me of my propensity to be reactionary in my communication. So I'm always ready to speak. I think immediately of like at home when I'm communicating with my wife or my kids, like how is my listening? So I have some hearing damage, you know, from a past of a lot of loud music, and I think for me to say that I can blame my sometimes poor listening skills, that like to say that I can blame it solely on hearing damage is inaccurate and is not truthful. The honest truth is that I'm not fully present, and I'm not truly listening to the words that are being spoken to me. And in the same light, when I'm before the Lord in my time of prayer, you know, if you don't, just in case if someone's hearing this right now and you don't have a time carved out in your day through your week where you are spending time in prayer, I want to encourage you to just begin to step out on that. Just take 5 minutes today and just sit and listen to the Lord. When I'm in my time of prayer, when I'm before the presence of the Lord, how often am I waiting to speak? Like, God, I need this. God, would you bless this? Would you show me this? Would you heal this? Would you pick the topic? I am contributing more than I'm receiving. And so I think in the same way, oftentimes our spiritual life is reflected in our physical. Maybe I'm going about listening in the presence of the Lord. Maybe I'm going about listening in a reactionary way rather than a loving relationship with my Father. And in that loving relationship, it reveals the fact that He is trustworthy, and that what He says is for the best for me. So I say all that to say, well, what we're doing this week is we took an approach where we just wanted to get out around town, and we wanted to have other people's input, and we wanted to really take a second to listen to people. Some cool interactions really came out of this, but the point was, what I wanted to point out to them was, like, especially within the body of believers, especially within the church, we don't often do a good job of listening in our homes, in our time of prayer, but especially outside of relationships, so just people we pass by, you know. we don't often do a good time. We don't often do someone else the honor of giving them our full attention and really waiting to hear from them. So we wanted to put that into practice today. Let's check it out. Okay, so Anna, thanks for doing this.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so just ask a couple questions. So your day-to-day life, what is it that you value most about your day-to-day life? What would you say?
What I value to my day-to-day life.
And if that's super vague, I understand. Like, sorry.
No, yeah. I think one thing that I value is in myself is that I can be presented with a challenge and adapt it in ways that I can access it. So for most people, for example, in real life and everyday situations, some buildings, some parking lots aren't accessible to me.
Okay, yeah.
I have to have an accessible van access spot. And sometimes that's not always offered, even though we have the ADA in place, the Americans with Disability Act. But I value the fact that I'm able to look at things from a different perspective and make it to where I can access it from my point of view.
What's like, if you would elaborate on like your perspective, like how would you say, how does your perspective vary from like other people with commonality and other people without commonality? How is your perspective unique?
Oh, okay. Okay, so I
love this, by the way. This is so awesome.
So I actually got injured 6 years ago from a gymnastics accident. So I was left with a paralysis from T10, which is below the waist. I have no sensation or function. Because I was injured, that has brought two different perspectives of being an able body before and having a now disabled body. So I understand and empathize with people who don't have the insights of being surrounded by people with disabilities, and for the people who have only known this perspective of the world. And so I think it's very unique because I can apply it into different lives or in different aspects of my life.
Yeah.
And so a lot of who I am now is to advocate and bring in people so that they can see my perspective, because I know what it's like to be the person who has no idea or knowledge in this area.
Yeah, you're a mediator of sorts, right?
Yes.
Like you're like a emissary. I would put it like that. You're an emissary, like for multiple camps. That's a really unique. That's a really special. Man, like it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So if like another like just kind of random question, like if you had all the money in the world, if you weren't like if you had zero inhibitions, like what is it that you would do ultimately with your life? Like what would your dream be if you took away all the trappings of what like limit us as people, emotionally, physically, whatever? Like anything you could do, what would it be?
In regards to having money, or
like, so money's not an issue. So
money's not an issue.
Right.
Are you talking about as a career or
like
kind of like purpose?
Yes, purpose. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. What career too? Whatever.
Yeah. So a lot of my purpose, I believe, is to advocate for a community that's been marginalized, and you know, with the disabled community being the largest minority group and it continues to expand, I just really like to advocate for that community in any way that looks like, whether that's in education, whether that's in daily living, or in the workforce. I've seen so many barriers that I've been presented with, and I know that there's only so much barriers that I haven't been presented with, but I have now this insight. So if money wasn't an issue...
The knowledge thing kind of we were talking about, right? Sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah, go ahead.
But no, if money wasn't an issue, I would dedicate a lot of my time with trying to help out in ways that I guess isn't like the typical way a human would go about it, whether that's like going into people's homes and just helping them become innovative with how they can adapt things towards themselves, and travel the world and show people how we can make this world more accessible.
Yeah.
It's
awesome. I love it. Thank you. This is...
It's 4:20. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Question.
Thank you. Yeah. Let's see. How do you want to be perceived? Like either in your close relationships or just in your day to day. Like how what is it that in your heart that you want people to perceive about you?
Yeah. Okay, so I think that society has this common notion that disabled peoples are hindered and that they are viewed as incapable and not enough, inadequate. And that's what a lot of things, you could see it, and it's very apparent when we see like physical barriers and visible barriers in our world. And I just want to eliminate that as a whole and to show them that though I have no ability to use my legs anymore, I can live a very successful life, whether that means in my job or in my life, my purpose, any areas.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's, oh man. Okay, this is the last question I have. Just like, I came loaded with 4. So if there are a couple more that pop up, I'm sorry. But what characteristic do you value most in people?
Oh, what characteristic do I value most in people? I think empathy goes a long way. To really, if you don't have insight on a particular area, to just give that kind of support to people is just everything.
No, that's good. Yeah, for sure. Like listening actually from a sense of like listen and response, right? Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate your time. So this is a completely random encounter. Like Anna isn't random. Like she actually, like, her and Daniel know each other, and we happened to bump into her in Lenexa City Center Square. And so is there anything like is there something that you're a part of that you'd like to promote, like that you'd like to like make people, and not to put you on the spot?
Yeah, no, of course, no. If you want to see more from me, you can find me on social media. I'm actually a social media blogger, and I try to normalize disabilities as a whole and show my everyday aspects. So you can find me at Anna Sarul on Instagram. That's SAROL for my last name. And then on Facebook, I have a Facebook page at Pray for Anna Boo, and you can find more from me there.
Heck yeah. You're a blessing, gal. Like, it's so cool to meet you, for real. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Like we're so grateful that you would allow us access to your life today. I feel like I'm supposed to ask, do you feel like your voice is heard in your life? Do you feel like you have a voice? I want to assure you that you do, and I want to assure you that the voice that you carry is a beautiful one. So if it's not one that's heard, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Just shoot us a message. So as we go into our time of worship and reflection, let's be intentional about how we approach this moment. It's not just about consuming music and being emotionally stirred. Let's take this moment and ask of the Father, how is it that I am not listening as you listen? How is it that I am not waiting for you to speak? How is it that I'm not waiting to hear someone, the person in front of me? How am I not waiting to hear their heart when they speak, rather than wait to respond, wait for my turn to speak? And I'll lead us out in this. Father, forgive us, for we've forgotten how to listen. Thank you for listening to us. Give us hearts for one another and for you. May the peace of Jesus rest on your house. Let's worship together.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Worthy of every song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Oh, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Yeshua, the only one who could ever save. Oh, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken, and I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. And holy, there is no one like you. Oh, there is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my